My first guest, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, who's part of Governor-elect Ron DeSantis' transition team. And you and I were together on the day when all of this started outside that election board office. You were standing outside with me. I appreciate you doing the breaking news with me on that day as we were learning about what would come about with the recount. So what do you make about the results? How big of a deal is this for the Republican Party?
Well, it's always a good news for Republicans when Florida is red. Congratulations to Governor-elect DeSantis and to Senator-elect Scott. But Harris, I think there are some things instructive about these Florida wins for Republicans that can be extrapolated onto the 2020 cycle. We saw how Donald Trump's coalition comes together, and it is reliant on huge Republican turnout. Here in Florida, Democrats did everything that you would expect them to do to win. We had the most diverse electorate in our state's history. There was enthusiastic millennial participation. The groups that Andrew Gillum was working to turn out, he did a good job turning them out. But when Donald Trump is at his best and able to activate at times 75, 80% turnout in deep red counties, it creates a real, I would say, red firewall against any potential blue wave. And I think we can learn a lot about that as we compete in whole states around the country preparing for the president's reelection.
Well, now you point to the very issue that the president has been making the last couple of days, and that is that he was the difference maker in all of this. I want both of us to watch and listen to Kellyanne Conway, advisor to the president on this issue.
I think that Governor Scott and Congressman DeSantis ran excellent campaigns, but this president getting in there several times in those last 6-7 days really made the difference. And also him encouraging them not to bail on their clear victories.
So is Florida becoming, and we've always called it a swing state, and we've seen problems with voting in the past, but is it one party more than the other more than ever before?
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida has benefited from unified Republican government, and voters did not want to make a change there. But to highlight Kellyanne's point, if you look at the places that had enhanced turnout, it was the two media markets where President Trump had made recent visits, in the Panhandle, where I reside, and in Southwest Florida. So, again, I think the president could take a lot from the fact that when he goes somewhere, he is able to gin up Republican turnout. Also important to note, in Florida, President Trump won no major party voters. That's non-Republicans, non-Democrats, by 4 points in 2020. We slid a little on that metric in this last election, and so the president will need to win back some of those no major party voters. And I think that, you've already seen a tone from the president that wants to embrace working together and progress and getting things done for just everyday folks who expect the government to work for them. So I think that's really the key to success.
I caught a tweet from him over the weekend congratulating Andrew Gillum as one of the things that you're talking about. Let's talk about Brenda Snipes. Boy, this just got weird. I mean, do we actually know that the misplaced 2,000 votes? And can you just take us, what are the facts that we know?
So there are still major chain of custody issues with ballots. When they did the machine recount, they did not have the same number of ballots that reconciled to what they had been consistently reporting. And so you've really just seen a hot mess down in both Broward and Palm Beach counties. I don't want to let Palm Beach County off the hook for their illegal duplication of ballots without any sort of rational or legal basis. And so with Brenda Snipes leaving, the hope is we'll be able to appoint someone there who isn't political, but who could just keep the trains running on time, and most importantly, will embrace transparency. We have provisions of Florida law that would allow us to detect fraud or irregularities a lot earlier in the process, but Brenda Snipes ignored the law. She didn't make those required reportings, and that's why we were ultimately always playing catch-up to try to understand what had happened instead of knowing along the way that we have an election that has the appropriate amount of integrity. So I think that Ron DeSantis will appoint someone there who doesn't view the job as a political job, but that really is able to execute on the mechanics of running a clean election.
Well, it was interesting because you talk about her politics, but, on the other side of the aisle, she messed up in a couple of primaries for Democrats, too. It just bogs the mind as to how long she could keep that job. She quit, though. She's gone. Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, great to see you. Thank you again.